Hello guys, in this video I'm going to describe how to set up and use the Reactive Camera Controller for Unity and generally show you what you can achieve with it. So let's get started. Now I'm going to use the rollable template for this demo and walk you through setting up the controller really quickly. It is super easy to set up. The first thing to do is go to your main camera, delete the camera controller, and add the Reactive Camera Controller. Now, at this point, you have already empowered your camera system. The reactive camera controller does everything the default camera controller does, plus much, much more. Now, we have a few properties here, so let me go over them real quickly, and you'll see what each one does when we go into the game. Now, the enable property simply indicates whether the reactive functionality is on or off. So if at some point you don't want to have this functionality, you can toggle this off, even at runtime. The input condition dictates when to apply the panning and tilting effect, under which type of input the effect should be applied. So whenever there's a vertical axis input or a horizontal axis input or any of the above, you can set this as you like. The pullback condition is pretty much the same as the input condition, but for the field of view pullback effect. We got a few extra options here. The vertical and horizontal option means that whenever there is both vertical and horizontal option together, should the effect be applied. And the vertical or horizontal option means that the effect will be applied on either vertical or horizontal input. Now, the input properties here allow you to basically tailor the reaction effect to your needs. You can set the amount of degrees the camera will move on the vertical axis, how fast it will interpolate, and whether to invert the axis. So up will become down and down will become up. You will see how this works in a minute. The horizontal input properties is the same as the vertical input properties, but for the horizontal axis. Here in the field of view pullback degrees, you can set the amount of degrees the field of view will pull back and how fast it will move. Now this option down here, the apply to camera instead of boom option, is a little bit hard to explain in words. It's something that will make sense once you see how it works. But basically what it does is, if you imagine that the camera is hooked up to a boom, which is attached to the player, all of the manipulations I mentioned so far are being done on the boom. What this option does, and this applies to the horizontal axis only, by the way, is telling the system to make these manipulations on the camera itself, if that makes sense. Again, I've tried to explain this in words many times and I can't really get the point across, but I promise you it will make sense once you see it. Now, let me set some default properties for this and we can get started. Okay, so let me point to the player right here. Let's have the input condition to any. Let's not have any pullback condition yet. We'll see that in a minute. Let's do some defaults here. And yeah. Okay, so first of all, let me show you how it looks like without the effect enabled. Oh, by the way, I've set up a script here so you can watch what kind of buttons I'm pressing and the horizontal and vertical inputs. So this is the default camera movement that you get from the default camera controller. Okay, now let's see how it works with the reactive camera controller. There you go. So you get a bit of a reaction from the camera according to your input, uh, which is smooth. Actually adds up to the gameplay. Let me crank these values up a little bit so I can make the effect more apparent. There you go. There. Now, I haven't set the pullback to anything yet, so there was no zooming out, in and out. So let's do that now. Let's do vertical or horizontal. Let's do, let me do something really big so you can see it. Let's do like 15. There you go. Now, when there's no input, the camera uh, will return to the original position automatically. So you can see that here. You can notice the values right here changing, the field of view. There you go. Now notice that for the vertical input, I have inverted the axis. So like I said, up becomes down and down becomes up. Uh, Let me check this off and see what happens. Notice what happens when I push the forward button. See the camera turns the other way. When I push the down button, there you go. Now for these option now, let me show you. Oh, by the way, uh, let's demonstrate this. Let's say that we only want to have vertical input. Apply the effect. So this, notice that when I'm pressing left and right, nothing happens. But when I press up or down, the effect is applied. And the same happens for the horizontal only. Now, for this now, let me show you what it does. Notice, let me show you how without it. Notice how the camera moves when there's horizontal input, when there's right and left input. See? Now, watch what happens when this is on. There you go. See, I can't explain this with words, but you can see the difference in movement on the horizontal axis. And there you go. And this is it. If you have any questions, please email me or leave me a comment. Or if you have any other functionality that you would like to see uh, in this controller, do let me know. I'll be happy to make it work for you. Thanks for watching.